Ask yourself what's more likely. The actual living God became man, came down, died, and was resurrected 3 days later, or somebody made that up.
All right, listen, I understand that it takes time for news to spread, but David Hume's terrible anti-miracle argument has been thoroughly debunked 6 ways from Sunday for the last 250 years. Can we please move on now?
You're living in the past, man.
For starters, if it is possible that God exists, then the prior probability of a miracle happening isn't necessarily on the floor. If God possibly exists, then it's not improbable to think that God's love would obligate him to share our suffering. This would require God to become human, atone for our wrongdoing, teach us how to live morally, and give us a revelation on how to be saved. Now, in what way can we distinguish between real revelation from God and some man's fine-sounding philosophy, but by miracles? In other words, the improbability that such a revelation should be given by God is not greater than the original improbability that such a thing could happen.
Or it was a later invention by a later author, 45 to 65 years after his death.
Rather than appealing to poorly estimated likelihoods and bad math, we're going to need to do the hard work, roll up our sleeves, and actually look at the evidence. We need to take a look at the Gospels and ask, what are their authors like, and what is their relationship to truth? If it can be shown that the Gospel authors are careful, honest, and close up to the facts, then the resurrection stories that we find in the Gospels would go back to what the original eyewitnesses claimed. Now, I talk about this a lot on my channel. Please see my playlist on the reliability of the Gospels for more. Now, it's not a miracle by itself that somebody would make such a claim, but it is very strong evidence for a miracle for them to make a claim like this in the face of persecution.
Or somebody hallucinated and was mistaken. Or somebody was just mistaken. Or some sort of social contagion happened.
Yeah, no. The witnesses said that they had lengthy conversations with Jesus, that they saw him in groups, that they touched his wounds, that they ate with him, and that they conversed with him over a period of 40 days. These are not things that one could easily be mistaken about.
Or somebody stole the body. N.T. Wright readily admits that grave robbery was prevalent through the area at the time. That's the first thing the women assume in the Bible whenever Jesus' tomb is empty.
Stolen body doesn't explain the appearances, dude. Really, is this the best you got?
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
So which is more likely? People lie every day. People are mistaken every day. People make up stories every day. But people don't come back from the dead every day. All those options are more likely than a miracle.
Of course, people don't come back from the dead every single day. That's the point of it being rare. It stands out as a sign from God. Here's an argument from Tim McGrew, who wrote the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy entry on the subject of miracles. Premise 1, in religious context, miracles are supposed to function as signs. Premise 2, miracles that function as signs would be impossible unless they took place against the backdrop of a stable natural order, since that is what enables them to function as signs. Therefore, conclusion, the existence of a stable order of nature, cannot be used as an argument against miracles in religious context. Hume gave the world a false dilemma when he tried to pit the laws of nature against miracles. The resurrection wouldn't stand out at all if dead men didn't normally stay dead. That would be like using a black font to write on a black background. God isn't stupid. He knows how to communicate a message. According to Melfar, no matter how clumsy, ad hoc, or improbable an explanation is, it's always to be preferred over a supernatural explanation, no matter how much explanatory power that explanation has. But that just simply can't be right. Even if the prior probability of a miracle is low, enough quality and quantity of independent evidence can always swamp a non-zero prior. Allow me to illustrate. Let's say that you're hiking in the woods and you come across what looks like an abandoned cabin. By the looks of it, you'd guess that the odds of it being inhabited are like 1 in 100,000 or greater. But for whatever reason, you decide to go inside, and you see a table there and some chairs and a hot cup of tea steeping on the table. That small piece of evidence immediately swamps the theory that the cabin was vacant because you know somebody had to put that tea on that table. That's evidence that the cabin is inhabited. Now, the same thing that a single spectacular piece of evidence can accomplish can also be accomplished by a number of less spectacular pieces of evidence, each of which may not be of particularly great weight individually, but collectively equal in weight to a single spectacular piece. It seems like Melfar has dug himself into a pit, epistemically speaking. To require more evidence for a supernatural claim is totally legit. But to say that no amount of testimonial evidence can ever establish a supernatural claim is just putting yourself in an unfalsifiable position. If a miracle ever did happen in the past, I want to know how exactly Melfar would know that he's wrong. It's time to set aside David Hume's terrible argument.
I say let it die.